Hello there, fifth graders. Welcome to your next math lesson. Go ahead and open up in your math notebook to the next available page. And at the top of that page, write the title of today's lesson, which is Display Measurement Data on a Line Plot. Display measurement data on a line plot. So basically, data is collected information. We are displaying that data on what's called a line plot. And it's pretty simple, actually. It looks like this. First of all, let's say we have a bunch of disorganized information. Like let's say we have a bunch of pieces of yarn, and all of those pieces of yarn are of various lengths. So we have one piece of yarn that's 1/4 feet long, 1/4 of a foot long. We have another piece that's 1/2 of a foot long. We have another piece that's 1/3 of a foot long. Another piece that's 1/3 of a foot long. Then we have another piece that's 1/4 of a foot long. Another piece that's 1/3 of a foot long. Another piece that's 1/4 of a foot long. One piece that's 3/4 of a foot long. One piece that's 1/2 of a foot long. Another piece that's 1/2 of a foot long. Another piece that's 3/4 of a foot long, and another piece that's 1/4 of a foot long. So basically, we just have a bunch of randomly sized pieces of yarn. But it's not a good way to show the sizes because it's not organized. It's all just randomly, it's just randomly put there. Well, a line plot helps with that, and this is what a line plot looks like. With a line plot, you show the different measurements from smallest to largest along the line plot this way. So sometimes it's easier to show where half would be first. Half would be right in the middle of the line plot. 1/4 is a half of a half, so it would be right here. Okay, 1/3 would be somewhere between that. It doesn't have to be perfect. 3/4 would be halfway between 1/2 and 1/2. And I think that's all the different measurements. We have 1/4, 1/2, 1/3, 3/4. I think we got them all. So it shows what the different measurements are going from smallest to largest along the line plot. But then going up above the line plot, it shows how many pieces we have for each measurement. So for 1/4, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of yarn that are 1/4 of a foot long. So we put 4 X's. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next, for 1/2, we have 1, 2, 3 pieces of yarn that are 1/2 a foot long. So we put 1, 2, 3 for 1/2. Next, we'll do 1/3. We have 3 pieces of yarn that are 1/3 of a foot long. So we put 1, 2, 3 X's above 1/3. And 3/4 is what's left. We have 1, 2 pieces of yarn that are 3/4 of a foot long. So we put 2 X's for 3/4. And that's the first part of today's lesson. It's just learning how to put data like this, unorganized data, in an organized way on a line plot. So now it's easier to see what sizes you have more of, what sizes you have less of, and it's also easier to count how much you have of each one at a glance. Like if you had to find that information from this, you would have to really stop and count. But you can tell that you have 4 pieces that are 1/4 of a foot long at a glance when you put the information in an organized way on a line plot. Okay, now the second thing in today's lesson is how to find the fair share. And what that means is if all the pieces of yarn were the exact same size, but you still had the same amount of yarn total, how long would each piece of yarn be? And the way you find that out is by adding all the pieces of yarn together and then dividing that by the total number of pieces of yarn. So that would look like 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 3/4 plus 3/4. See, sorry, you couldn't even see the whole thing. See, we just add all the pieces of yarn together. Now, this would be the hardest way to do that. I wanted to show it to you this way first with just to make sure you understand that we're adding every single piece of yarn together. But the easiest way to do it is going to be first to multiply each piece of yarn by the total pieces of yarn that are that size, by the total number of pieces of yarn that are that size, and then add all those products together at the end. So it would be 1/4 times 1, 2, 3, 4. That'll give us all the yarn we have from pieces that are 1/4 of a foot long. 1/3 times 1, 2, 3. That'll give us all the total length of the pieces of yarn that are 1/3 of a foot long. It'll be 1/2 times 1, 2, 3, and 3/4. Gotta get this thing out of the way. And it'll be 3/4 times 1, 2. Okay? So 1/4 times 4. We need to give the 4 a denominator of 1, and then we can just multiply straight across. 1 times 4 is 4. 4 times 1 is 4. So 4/4. That means we have 1 foot total of yarn that's cut into 1/4 of a foot in length. 1/3 times 3. Give the whole number a denominator of 1. 1 times 3 is 3. 3 times 1 is 3. 3/3. That means we also have 1 foot of yarn that's cut into 1/3 of a foot strips. 1/2 times 3. Give the whole number a denominator of 1. 1 times 3 is 3. 2 times 1 is 2. This is an improper fraction, so we have to change it into a mixed number by dividing the denominator into the numerator. 2 times 3, 2 can go into 3 one time. 1 times 2 is 2. 3 minus 2 is 1. So we have 1, we'll put it right here, we have 1 1/2 of a foot of yarn that is cut into half of a foot strips. Next, 3/4 times 2. Give the whole number a denominator of 1. 4 times 3 is 6. I'm sorry, 3 times 2 is 6. I had the right answer, but 3 times 2 is 6. 4 times 1 is 4. That's an improper fraction, so we have to change it into a mixed number. 4 can fit into 6 one time. 1 times 4 is 4. 6 minus 4 is 2. That becomes our numerator. That's our denominator. And 1 2/4 we know simplifies to 1 1/2. Okay, so this is the total amount of yarn we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 feet total of yarn because we have 4 whole feet, 2 half feet. We count those together as 1 foot. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 total feet of yarn. Now we divide 5 by the total number of pieces of yarn. And the total number of pieces of yarn are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 5 divided by 12. Now that means we have to divide a smaller number by a bigger number. And that's kind of hard to do, but we can divide a smaller number by a larger number. We learned this in chapter 10 by doing it as if it's fractions. Look, we can give each of them a denominator of 1. Now they're fractions, and we know how to divide fractions. The first fraction stays the same. Flip the sign from division to multiplication. Flip the second fraction from 12/1 to 1/12. And now we multiply straight across. So 5 times 1 is 5. 1 times 12 is 12. 5/12 is already in simplest form, and it is the fair share. Now, some of you may still be a bit confused. There's a lot there that we just went over. But let's do another example together. Okay, let's say we have, just going to pick some kind of disorganized amount of material here. Let's say we have iced tea in quarts. Iced tea. We have one thing of iced tea that's 1/2 of a quart. We have another thing of iced tea that's 1/4 of a quart. Another thing of iced tea that's 1/8 of a quart. We have another one that's 1/4 of a quart. Another one that's 1/2 of a quart. Another one that's 1/4 of a quart. Another one that's 1/2 of a quart. Another one that's 1/8 of a quart. And one more that's 1/2 of a quart. Those are all the containers of iced tea we have. It's just a bunch of disorganized information. So the first part of today's lesson is organizing that information on a line plot. So we make our line plot. And we first find out where these fractions would be on the line plot. And 1/2 is always the easiest one to find. It's halfway from the beginning of the line to the end of the line. We know 1/4 is half of that. 1/8 is half of 1/4. They don't all have to be in the exact right spot. They just have to be in the right order. We already put 1/4 down. We already put 1/2 down. Already put 1/4. Okay, those are all the fractions. There's only 3 fractions, but they're repeated. Okay, now we count the amount of 1/2s that we have. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we put 1, 2, 3, 4 X's. Next 1/4. We've got 1/4, 1, 2, 3 times. So we put 3 X's. 1, 2, 3. Next we have 1/8, 2 times. So we put 2 X's. So that's the first part, is just taking the information and putting it on a line plot. That's the easiest part. The second part, finding the fair share, I admit, is a little bit harder to understand. But remember, all you do is add all the fractions together. You add all these fractions together and then divide that by the total number of fractions. That's all it is. But the easiest way to do that is to first multiply each fraction by the amount of times it appears. That way, instead of adding 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2, since there's 4 1/2s, we can just multiply 1/2 times 4. And instead of adding 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4, since there's 3 1/4s, we can just multiply 1/4 times 3. And instead of adding 1/8 plus 1/8, since it happens twice, we can just multiply 1/8 times 2. And then we can add all those products together. And that will give us the answer to all the fractions added together. In order to multiply a fraction by a whole number, we give the whole number a denominator of 1. And then we just multiply straight across. 4 times 1 is 4. 2 times 1 is 2. That's an improper fraction. So we have to divide the denominator into the numerator. 2 can fit into 4 2 times. So we have 2 quarts of iced tea in 1/2 quart containers. Next, we multiply 1/4 times 3. Give the whole number a denominator of 1. 1 times 3 is 3. 4 plus 4 times 1 is 4. So we have 3/4 of a quart of iced tea put in 1/4 containers. Okay, now we give the whole number a denominator of 1 for 1/8 times 2. 1 times 2 is 2. 8 times 1 is 8. We have 2/8. That'll simplify by the GCF 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Now we have 2 plus 3/4 plus 1/4. 3/4 plus 1/4 will be 4/4, which equals 1. And 2 plus 1 equals 3. So the total fractions all added together, 1/2 plus 1/4 plus 1/8 plus 1/4 plus 1/2 plus 1/4 plus 1/2 plus 1/8 plus 1/2 is 3. We divide that by the total number of fractions, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now we have 3 divided by 9. And again, what's the easiest way to divide a smaller number by a bigger number? 3 divided by 9 means this. So we're splitting up we're splitting up 3 into 9 equal pieces, which means the answer is going to have to be less than 1. Because if we split up 3 into even 3 equal pieces, there would be 1 each. But we're splitting up 3 into 9 equal pieces. Think if you had to split 3 cookies between 9 people, would each person be able to get a whole cookie? No, you'd each get less than a whole cookie. So we're going to have an answer that's less than 1. And the easiest way to divide a littler number by a bigger number is to turn them both into fractions. And we already know how to divide fractions. The fraction on the left stays the same. Flip the operation from division to multiplication, or reverse the operation from division to multiplication, and then flip the second fraction from 9 over 1 to 1 over 9. Now we multiply. 3 times 1 is 3. 1 times 9 is 9. And of course, 3/9 can be simplified. The GCF is 3, because 3 can fit into itself once, and it can fit into 9 3 times. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So the fair share is 1/3. All right, I'm going to give you one to do independently now. And you have 2 tasks. Actually, I'll tell you what those 2 tasks after I give you the independent work. Here is the data. Go ahead. Let's say you have distances swam. A bunch of people swam, and they all swam random distances. And it's in miles. One person swam half a mile. Another person also swam half a mile. Another person swam 1/3 of a mile. Another person also swam 1/3 of a mile. Another person swam 1/4 of a mile. And another person swam 1/3 of a mile. Okay, there's some random distances swam. Do 2 things. This is your independent work. Do 2 things. Organize this unorganized data on a line plot, and then find the fair share. Once you've done that, click on the next video under this one to see if you did it correctly, and I will see you there. Signing off.